All right, so well, first of all, congratulations on your recent release, Madam Palindrome.
Thank you.
Tell us, what kind of sound, you're very welcome, what kind of sound can we expect on the album?
I would say just like the first album, Day After. It's a big melting pot of so many different sounds that influence us. The root being soul music, but definitely R&B, funk, psychedelic, a little bit of acoustic soul, kind of all melted into this Deborah Third Logic sound.
That's good. That's good.
Kind of hard to put any real name on it because we have so many influences and we come from so many different directions, and we don't really approach writing songs or putting music together with any particular genre or sound in mind. So the more you listen and the more you really get into it, you'll really notice that it's just like a lot of everything.
That's really good. How do you pick the title for the album?
It's funny. Myself and my bass player, who goes by the name Funky Chuck, midway through creating the album, we sat down with about maybe 5 songs that were already completed, not recorded, but ready to be recorded, and we started to listen to the songs and the lyrics to try to get ideas together for the title. And what we noticed was a common thread with all of the songs that we had so far was that the songs seemed to come from these 2 different sides. The content of the songs were dealing with some type of perspective from usually 2 sides. And to take it even further, it seemed kind of like the songs, although the perspectives were maybe from 2 different perspectives, they were very similar perspectives, and there was something that was kind of tying the 2 together in between. And it's really funny, my bass player said, that makes me think of palindromes. A palindrome is something that you can read forward and backwards the same way, and it's 2 of the same things on either side, and there's something in the middle that is in between those 2 things. And he just thought of the word palindrome, and we just started thinking about that, like, where could we go with that? And one day, I swear it was maybe a couple days later, he just called me and said, Madam Palindrome, I think that should be the title. And we toiled over it for a while because we thought it was too wordy. We thought it was kind of weird. But myself and Third Logic, my production team, we really like weird. And we like something that will make you think. And after kind of going back and forth about it, we all decided that it just fit. And once we decided that it was going to be called Madam Palindrome, the word Madam is a palindrome if you pronounce it, if you spell it the English way. I think there's an English way and there's maybe a French or another way with an E on the end, but we took the E off. And it has 2 perspectives to even that word. Madam is not always seen in the brightest light, but sometimes people greet someone by saying, "Oh, good day, madam." And so we just thought it really, really fit. And once we had that stuck, we kind of ran with it. But it came to the next batch of songs that we completed the album with. We embedded a lot of stuff within the music and the artwork, and took it real deep.
That's very interesting, very creative.
Yeah.
On the single "You're the One" is very refreshing, and it doesn't sound like anything that we hear on radio. How important? You're welcome. How important is it for you to stay true to your sound without compromising it for radio play?
It's probably almost like the #1 rule for me. I have a song on the album called "Blind Paradise," it's track number 3, which really was kind of my personal message in that regard, because I've had a lot of people, especially in the last few years, give me advice on what I should do to quote unquote blow up, or to quote unquote make it, or and most times it's always involved some form of me compromising my sound, compromising my look, just compromising my art. And I'm an extremely stubborn person when it comes to that. I'm not in a part of my life where I feel that is necessary. I think maybe 10 years ago, when I was younger, in my 20s, maybe I would have felt more moved to bend a bit. But at this point in my life, and I just feel so confident in what I do, and I really, really believe in what I do, that I feel like it would be a complete injustice to myself to change anything. I feel like what I'm doing right now is so unique and it's so pure that it's kind of it has to be that way. So it's highly important to me. I would much rather be a starving artist and be happy with what I'm doing than to be someone in the limelight that is like deep down inside feeling like an artistic sellout.
Oh man, that's a great answer. Let me tell you, we need more of that out there, because
yeah, we do. It's coming. I feel it. I feel a change coming. I think there's a lot going on in the universe and a lot going on in the world that is prompting artists to start speaking with a message. I'm not sure what's going to happen with a lot of the mainstream artists, because so many of them are forced to do things and they just have, stars in their eyes, and they want to be rich and make money, and their focus is material instead of being, using your music to heal someone or to motivate someone. It's just more material. So I have a feeling, though, with the ways of the world right now, that there's going to be another wave of really powerful musicians and artists, and luckily we have a few good mediums to get our voices out there.
That's right. Yeah. On the song "If I Didn't Need You," that song features the very talented Lewis Taylor. Tell me how Tell me how the collaboration came together, and give me some background on that song.
Okay, so that song, it was a very quick wrinkle in time of a situation with Lewis Taylor. So many people have been asking me how I get him out of retirement, and it's so funny because I could be that girl and run with it and come up with all kinds of stories, and but I have to be honest, that song is pretty old. It's about maybe 5 years old.
Oh wow.
And it was written before Lewis Taylor retired. And during the time when I was writing that song, I had written it with a duet in mind, and I had a manager at the time who asked me just randomly one day if I could work with anybody right now on the soul scene, who would it be? And at that point in time, I was really completely motivated and inspired by Lewis Taylor. I had really just started studying him and listening to his work, and I just fell in love with his sound and everything about his musicianship and artistry, and that's who I said. And within a couple weeks, he came back to me, my manager, said, I think I can make that happen. And I don't know what he did, to be honest with you. I've never really asked. I was just dumbfounded that he found a contact for Lewis Taylor and got the ball rolling. And I wrote that song with Robbie McDonald, my guitar player, and we kind of wanted it to be like this lover's spat, like this back and forth between a couple. Mm-hmm. that really that kind of says, I'm so sick of you, I just want to walk away, but deep down inside you really can't. And that song was actually one of the songs that brought about a part of the perspective, because from the perspective of the woman, she's saying, I treat you like a king and I do all these things for you, and for the perspective of a man, he's like, well, are you forgetting about these things I do for you? And then the middle of it all, they have the same sentiment of feeling like they can't really leave each other no matter how much they think they should or they want to. They need each other, and their love is too strong to pull them away. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the songs that actually led us to the perspective idea. And basically, once I wrote it, I recorded the male parts and the female parts, and I did everything via the internet. Sent him the music. He reviewed it. He said he was in, and I couldn't believe it. I was just so astounded that he was willing to work with little old me. And cool back and forth because he took the song, he took it very lightly vocally at first. He was very, he didn't do too much embellishing, and I was begging him to give me more and more and more because that's what I really know him for, just these amazing, intense, lush, thick harmonies and just really cool riffs. And I asked him, could he, continue to build and build, and he told me something interesting about how he was in a place in his life where he just didn't feel like giving that much. He felt more like, less was more, and that he didn't really have anything to prove, and he wasn't really in a show-offy time of his life musically. And I just begged him to just go a little harder, and he did, especially at the very end of the track where the music is building and the intensity is really building. And he took it there. He took it there so much. I was so like, oh my God, now what am I gonna do? To match this power of Lewis Taylor. But in the end, it turned out to be a beautiful record, and I'm glad people are enjoying it because I was nervous about it. But I'm glad folks are latching on to it.
Most definitely, great collaboration.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Two of my favorite songs on the new album is Nothing Matters and Never Was.
Yes.
Can you give me a little background on those two songs?
Sure. Funny, the beginning and the end. Yeah, listen deeply to those songs, by the way. Nothing Matters, another old one. That was actually a song shopped to another singer in the D.C. area who passed on it. My bass player, Funky Chuck, came up with that groove, and once she passed on it, I was all about it. I just thought it was really funky, and it gave me this just I don't know, Shaka 80s kind of vibe, and most folks who know me know that that's like probably in my holy trilogy of singers. Shaka's in one of them, and that song honestly came from the sentiment of, it's very personal to me, but I wanted it to be relatable to people from so many different walks of life. I wrote that song about being in an interracial relationship and being judged, and having people who claim they're righteous people, or people who claim they're good people that have no that don't discriminate and that are open-minded, but then have their own negative opinions about me being with someone other than a black man, and that's really what the song is about. Again, it's another song about perspective. If we're all about love in this world, then who are you really to judge who I love? Nothing should really matter when you're feeling it. When you're feeling someone, why should it matter if they're a different race? Why should it matter if they're the same sex? Why should it matter if they're a different financial class, or really a huge age difference? I mean, legally speaking.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many things when it comes to love that can be judged, and that tends to be judged. And I just don't really believe in all of that, and that's where the song came from. So it started out being very personal to me, but it morphed into me wanting it to touch people who are being hated on for who they love.
Right.
And that's where that song came from. Never Was, on the other hand, Never Was another song that almost didn't make the album because it was produced by Robbie McDonald, my guitar player, and that's a very, very, very old track. And the minute I heard it, I was like, I have to write something to this, and it has to be on whatever's going to be my next album. And Robbie was worried that it was a little too classic, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis kind of vibe, very Janet Jackson groove, which I completely loved about it. I wanted that. I love Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. I love Janet Jackson, and I felt like this was a great way for me to give my own flavor and twist to that kind of vibe. And it's another perspective song. It's about being in one mental space about someone that you may have felt you were in love with at the time, that you might have been caught up in all kinds of other emotions that aren't love, maybe lust, maybe infatuation or whatever it may be, but you thought you loved this person, and you move on,